The meme that inspired this video is the guy in a female piano player YouTube video comments. And it's a giant, a giant armed coomer. And it's like, oh, your hands are so beautiful, my dear. There was a good comment on one of these videos, and it was like, the LA ambiance is really hitting. So you're going to have to put up with the LA ambiance for this video. I'm sorry. So the commenter, oh, you look so elegant playing this. And then all the comments are like this. Now, I was just talking with my dear girl. We were talking about whether or not the majority of views are coming from those people. We don't know that, but at least we do know that the majority of comments are coming from those people. So there we have what I would consider the angel. We have the desire path that doesn't fully reach into the pornographic. It does not fully reach, it is just definitively perverse, fetishistic, but it is not forthright in its sexuality, in its genitality. And then we have the alien. We have this kind of format of videos, or rather, it's a format of channel. It's a type of YouTube channel with sometimes it'll be specific videos on, like, back in the old days, there used to be channels that would just upload like a scene from a movie or a scene from a TV show. That used to exist. We're so used to structured channels. It's odd. Things used to be very different. But there are channels that are structured around particular fetishes in media. You can come across them by searching certain things. One that came across just by looking at scenes from a movie, sometimes I do that. There was like a hanging YouTube channel. It's a YouTube channel that is all scenes of hanging. And, obviously that was happening in my mind. Boop, boop, boop. And I look into the comments, and the comments are utterly deranged. It's like, delightful hanging. Nothing gets my juices flowing like a hanging, especially of a woman. And all the comments are like that, but sometimes they'll be like, oh, this hanging, she didn't, her feet weren't moving enough, or, her neck didn't snap just right. So, that's a desire path of hanging women on YouTube that you can see carved out. This YouTube channel is the path. It collects from all these different movies and shows and things into this collection distinctly made for a very bizarre and detached form of libido. And of course, this is where Aquarius comes in. Aquarius, which I associate with the technological. You can read more about that on tetragrammaton.com, on Rick Rubin's tetragrammaton.com, my article about Pluto and Aquarius. I talk quite a bit about the symbolic associations that I make with Aquarius there. But here I'm looking at, the Aquarian sexuality online, which is the majority. The majority of digital sexuality is Aquarian, which is to say it is detached. It's distant. It compiles and compounds images. Yet again, you are going to have to withstand the terrible noise of a city, of a terrible machine, of yard work. But that's okay, that's real life. If you want the purity, go to the YouTube hanging video comment section. There you'll find the pure silence of desire. So there are channels that collect, like, just a few examples that come to mind. Every TV show with a latex costume scene. Every show that has a being turned into a statue. Quicksand is a very popular and obvious one. But just a lot of these kind of strange things. These are, of course, in my sexual typology, these are media-induced fetishes. These are not porn-induced. They're media-induced fetishes that the internet kind of gives a second life to. Otherwise, it kind of would remain something that aroused somebody on a TV show. Like, oh, I got turned on by that. But this desire path online is given a huge way. What would have otherwise remained a passing, impermanent arousal becomes an aspect of the sexuality by way of the desire path formed by others. Yet again, we're getting into the Aquarian, the collective. These desires are collective, and their continuation, their longevity, is entirely a product of the collective desire. If it were not for people finding the clips and putting them on the internet, the desire would fade. They are established and continued by that. I'd imagine the sound is extraordinarily annoying, so I'm going to apologize again. It's annoying for me as well, but we don't get to pick. We don't get to choose. We have to live with this noise. Let's return to the image of the Aquarian split between the angel and the alien. So here we get the angel commenting on the female piano player, and I think pretty directly in one of my relatively recent past videos on the trad wife. It is the veiled fetish. The veiled fetish that retains its gentlemanly, human and angelic arousal. It's not direct. It's not absolute. It's a fetish that retains a degree of distance. It could just be a nice old man commenting on a piano player. It could just be a nice young man who wants a traditional life, but it's not. We know that it's not, because the very speech betrays itself. The alien is much more direct. It is much more open in its perversion. And I think that this actually constitutes something funny, which my dear had said that she'd read this in a tweet. Maybe one of you could find it. This tweet was from an e-girl, and it said, "The horny simp will always be more attractive than the kind of gay red pillar." Which we're going to say that, the red pill guy, the guy who's not posting horny on Maine, is the piano player. The trad wife. The horny simp is the alien, is the one who is, devotedly, directly, endlessly focused upon the target of desire in the form of the motif of hanging or being turned to a statue or quicksand or latex. There's a distinct difference, and one is outright horny. One is directly sexual, which is the alien. It is a completely inhuman sexuality. It is an entirely inhuman sexuality. But of course, so is the angel. It's just a different kind. The plausible deniability of, it brings to mind, this is a little bit, maybe going a bit too far, but what we have to, if you watch some of the oldest Shirley Temple videos, some of the oldest, all-child silent films, they're undeniably perverse and pedophilic, without a doubt. And it's not just like a perverse viewer watching it and projecting. There are kids sucking on gloves and things like that. That, I believe, remains angelic. There's still plausible deniability around that. I think a lot of the filmmaking is a product of that. A lot of, what is not directly sexual, but what comes to inform the sexuality of the aliens who watch and consume the content. That, I think, is kind of the relationship where you have, Aquarius being the masses, the collective, you also have the individual in Aquarius. Not the Leonic individual, not the proud, apparent individual, but the individual acting on behalf and for and through the will of the collective. So they are the people who create the content for the alien. And I believe that that is the relation that is made in this Aquarian sexuality. And particularly because they are things that are hard to find. You know, a person with like a foot fetish, there's endless foot fetish content. Many fetishes have endless representation in media. But for things that are rarer, like hanging or being turned to a statue, you know, there needs to be this Aquarian industry manufacturing desire paths for them. I think that a lot of internet content is that. A lot of internet content is a product of this Aquarian sexuality. That's what came to me from that female piano player meme. And as you know, memes matter.